Hi there. I am the Explicit Empress, or Carlton Witch, or Analia. I am an emotional and spiritual health coach, and I have been down the Carlton Football Club rabbit hole since 2022. So I want to share with you a Carlton Witch ramble that's a little bit longer than you would normally expect. Have a seat, get a cup of tea. Let me tell you a tale. Dear Carlton Football Club, you should have known. I found Carlton toward the end of 2022, which from where the club stands now is a very interesting time to have found them. At that time, I had started doing a deep dive into masculine energy and how sports and masculine energy and being able to use sports as an outlet, safe outlet for masculine energy. I just started that journey. So when I was brought into the Carlton Football Club story, it was very intriguing to me. So one of the things that I do is I find cycles, I find patterns in time, in events, and another thing that I do is find the story of a person, a group, or a company that aligns with the patterns in that time. So stepping into the Carlton Football Club at the end of 2022 was particularly interesting. And there was a very interesting story taking part at that point. So I won't go all the way back to 1864, but trust me, I have gone all the way back to 1864 to find out what the story of the Carlton Football Club is. For this video though, we're a bit more present day, and the period of time that I have been down the rabbit hole in is a period of time from May 2022 until November 2023. And that is a particularly relevant point in time right now for the world as a whole, for individuals, for collectives. But when I choose to zoom in on a particular group, Carlton Football Club, it is very relevant for a number of reasons that this video probably won't be able to go into completely. So at that point in time, that was when the energy of the universe was allowing us to make a deal, sign a contract, make a wish. And during that time, wishes that were being granted sort of came with a small print, right? Not one that we knew about, not one that we'd read. And it sort of outlined what our part was to play. Like, what do you wish for? And I'll give it to you, but there's gonna be some small print, right? The universe was sort of holding back on letting us know what it was that we would have to give in order to meet our side of the contract. This sort of assumed that along the way, we would be learning something in order to receive our wish. So I also want to ask that you do think about these dates, these times, these energies from your own personal perspective, because it is my belief that anybody who is wrapped up inside of the Carlton Football Club is somehow on the same energetic cycle as the overall energy of the Carlton Football Club. This period of time, May 2022 until November 2023, this was the contract time. This was when the Carlton Football Club unknowingly, most likely, made a deal with the universe, signed a contract, right? And that contract came to a very abrupt and crashing, illuminating final in early 2025, around May, okay? And so that's the journey I want to take you on, because, dear Carlton, you should have seen it coming. May 2022. So this whole contract of energy started on May 16th, 2022, where we had an eclipse in Scorpio. So this is where the ability to create the contract started, right? So the eclipse activated the Carlton Football Club's energy in its places of expansion, growth, luck, its point of fun and pleasure, its point of future goals. So the contract that Carlton was being offered an opportunity to make with the universe was about things like long-term abundance and security, and about including things like generational security, okay? That was the main component of what they had access to. So this was to come through putting the hard work into relationships, specifically related to relationships involving people's careers. And this was to come through learning from the mistakes made in that part of them, right? The relationships to do with career, made in the mistakes of the past, right? So putting hard work into that area and learning from those mistakes in the past, okay? So May 2022 as a whole, right, was really pointing out individual relationships worth investing in and really giving examples of rewards, so all of the wins that you get, and examples of the lessons, so the injuries and the losses that kind of came in May, all right, May 2022. So 8th of May 2022, round 8, defeated Adelaide by 48 points, right? Had 3 straight wins. Blues get to an 8-2 start, third on the ladder. Cripps, dominant as hell. Everyone thinks he's going to get the Brownlow, right? 20th of May, round 10, 15-point victory over Sydney, 3rd place. Charlie kills it, right? 6 goals. 29th of May, 2022, round 11. Lost to Collingwood, 4 points, 80,000 people, dropping to 5th on the ladder. Wiedering is injured. He's out for 6 weeks. Examples of rewards, the wins. Examples of the lessons, the injuries to personnel. June 2022 was offering information about relationships, rewards and lessons, as well as offering a very specific lesson about prioritizing the investment in relationships and people. Round 13, 10th of June, Sam Durden got recruited, beat Essendon by 26 points, back to the top 4. 16th of June, round 14. Marchbank comes back, re-injures himself straight away. Carlton loses to Richmond, and I think that is especially relevant because this is an example of discipline within masculine energy and a wound of identity, right? That was the overall energy of this day. And it was about how the wound of identity got in the way of being connected. And the day kind of asked, are you disciplined enough to earn the rewards you want? And they lost to Richmond, all right? So 25th of June, 2022, 31-point win over Fremantle. Sam Durden, brought in to cover the injuries, suffered his injury. So July, August 2022 began to show that Carlton had started making some changes within its internal energy. I think certainly showed that it had not felt the push or the hint that it had gotten since May to invest in the players, to invest in the people surrounding the Carlton Football Club, okay? So we had a number of energies throughout July and August that were telling that. Being asked to plant new seeds within fun, within confidence, but to do that without ego. They were to do these things without kind of having the feeling like the sun should revolve around me, okay? And then we had this last quarter moon in Aquarius on the 11th of August. And it had a pretty heavy question to ask, which was, where do you need to be more open to seeing things from another perspective? Where are you stifling authenticity? August was especially about ego versus confidence and where habits needed to be changed to ensure that we're moving towards confidence and not ego. So July was up and down, right? 63-point win over West Coast, which honestly, with what the energy was saying, was kind of like a universal, we're going to let you win. Like the moon was in Scorpio, the Scorpio moon started the contract. So it was sort of this reminder of like, do you remember that we started making a deal here, right? But then we lose to St Kilda, we lose to Geelong, not good. So then the 7th of August, we're at round 21. Now, this was a day of energy where the journey and the expansion of the individual needs to come together, right? So the idea of let's expand, let's grow, but also we need to take into account the individuals involved, right? So it brought up a lot of overly critical thinking of others, and it brought up like an overly large focus in this like search for perfection, okay? So Carlton lose to Brisbane, 33 points. And particularly interesting, this was the game where Cripps was cited for the high bump on Calamachi and suspended, right? Completely jeopardizing the Brownlow. On the 11th of August, we had a full moon in Aquarius, right? So the full moon in Aquarius was showing us where we needed to be more authentic. And it was asking some very specific questions about, are you able to become aware of your conditioning, and have you over the last 6 months freed yourself from its shackles? Okay. And the last 6 months, so February until August, this moon was asking, you know, have you seen what we've shown you? We put a spotlight on social dynamics that needed to change. We have also asked you to reflect on the role of the individuals within the collective and to reconsider duties and responsibilities and rights. And have you? That's what this moon was asking, okay? So on the 11th of August 2022, with this Aquarius full moon, Carlton successfully had the suspension overturned. Very controversial, quite unjust reading back about it now. Brought up a lot of questions in regards to how something so dangerous can kind of be let off because of a legal process. It did make him free, though, to play Melbourne and Collingwood to try and get Carlton's first spot in the final since 2013. I just want to read through what the outgoing AFL CEO said in regards to that. He said, it made no sense to me in any way, and it is frustrating to have a legal view about due process or procedural fairness. A complete nonsense, really affect a clear mandate to protect the head. We confused our supporters and set ourselves back, and that really frustrates me. When you have something that is so important, which is protecting the head, and a clear statement from the MRO and backed up by the tribunal, and then the player getting off because of a legal technicality and nobody really understanding what the hell happened, I find that challenging. So I have asked the guys to review the system and we will see where that lands. And I just want to remind you that moon was asking the spotlight on social dynamics that needed to change and reflect on the role of us as individuals within the collective to reconsider our duties and our responsibilities. So if there was a win-lose situation for that moon, even though we won at the tribunal, energetically, I think we lost. So on the 13th of August, a couple of days later, we see the immediate result of an unbalanced, dishonest energy. And what is the immediate result? We lose to Melbourne. 11 seconds remaining. Carlton drops to 8th. Then on the 21st of August, round 23, we need to make the finals, but Carlton loses to Collingwood. Collingwood, who are an Aquarius team, Aquarius full moon, okay? Patrick Cripps, though, sets his club record, 27 contested possessions. Good job, Cripps. Where's the focus, though? Where's the responsibility to the collective as an individual? Right? So 27th of August, we get a new moon in Virgo. Now, new moon in Virgos always ask the same questions. They want us to do work. They want us to change habits. They want us to plant seeds, okay? It's always about healing as well. So what needed to happen during this new moon in Virgo? Pretty clear based on the energy. Healing others, it's about doing work, changing habits, but did they? Then we get to September 2022, and this energy of September was like the universal temptation energy of where your rewards can get you. And it asked a huge question about relationship dynamics and whether or not they were balanced. Now I want to look at the 18th of September. Now the energy of that day was about being motivated by curiosity. And that curiosity was in the intention of others and how finding your own identity can come through being curious about other people, Okay, so this is the day Patrick wins the Brownlow, 29 votes. First Brownlow winner since 2010. Only possible because of the overturned suspension, however. 20th of September. Now, 20th of September, the energy of that day was about putting work into relationships, right? Putting work into relationships that allow you to feel stable, that allow you to feel so stable that when given a situation that requires pivoting, you can do so, okay? Now, 20th of September, we see Charlie secures his Coleman medal, and that's great because he's had a successful return from injury. Great. September 25th, new moon in Libra. Planting seeds of relationships under this one, right? 30th of September 2022, Cripps gets the 4th John Nichols medal at the best and fairest. 7th of October 2022, full moon in Aries. Now, this is really showing you the work that you've put in over the last 6 months, right? Work to do with figuring out who you are. Work to do with how motivated you've been, how you started new ideas, how you've driven yourself forward, okay? Now, the only notable thing really that I could find, so please let me know if I missed something, was that we acquired Blake Acres. That's important later on in the story. Then we get to the most potent part of this eclipse contract, okay, which was the center of the eclipse contract, which is between October 25th and November 8th, 2022. Okay, so this sees the new moon eclipse in Scorpio, it sees the full moon eclipse in Taurus, and this is the most potent contract defining energy of that period of time. So you can think back of your own personal life if you would like to. So what did the Carlton Football Club focus on during this period of time to ensure it went into their contract? Well, the Carlton Football Club asked for Vossi to be given another chance, and for its members to increase, and for its profit and growth to keep increasing. And it did so we saw Brian Cook and Luke Sayers publicly come out and back Michael Voss to continue into 2023. We want to emphasize stability, right? Then we see Carlton announce its record membership, okay? 88,776. Okay, we're up. We're getting more members. Then we get the announcement of the significant operating profit and season 2022. Now we come into season 2023, and now we start to see where the contract wants you to uphold your side of it. Even though you didn't read the small print, you didn't know what was in it, but now the universal energy starts going, now what are you going to give back? What are you giving back? What are you doing now? Okay? So it really wants to know where you didn't invest in the things that it tried to show you, which for the Carlton Football Club very clearly was the relationships and the people. January, February 2023, we start seeing that. Okay, Zach Williams ruptures his ACL, gone, whole season. Sam Walsh, he's in rehab, he's had back surgery, probably going to miss the start of the season. March 2023. Full moon in Virgo. Now this one says, where are the rewards for your hard work? Where does more work need to be done? Have you put in what we asked you to put in 6 months ago? Are you caring about the right things? Are you changing the habits to try and form better relationships? Are you being focused on being of service? March 21, new moon in Aries. What seeds are you planting? What seeds are you planting within your masculine energy and your drive and your motivation? So then we see this great start to the season, and it really starts to look like there's been a lot of care put it into the relationships to sort of start seeing some positive turnarounds, okay? 16th of March, we get a draw to Richmond. 23rd of March, we defeat Geelong, okay? We're off to a brilliant start. April 2023. So on the April 20th, we get a new moon eclipse in Aries. So this is the start of a new cycle. And it sort of asks, where is your I am energy, right? Where is your masculine energy? Let's align that. Let's look at some themes that we're going to be going through over the next 18 months where we have to balance our ego and our I am with the collective, with other people. How we go in that little test in April, 22nd of April 2023, round 6, we lose to Adelaide. And this kind of really shows up some inconsistency, right? How did we do so well and now we're not doing so well? Is this a pattern? 29th of April 2023, we win to West Coast, 108 points. Charlie has a career best. Now, Charlie, side note, he's really in his I am energy in this point, okay? He's really coming into it. So everyone sort of is like, oh, we're back, right? We're back in the top 8. Such a huge win. Under this energy, asks the question in the greater collective, how did you react to this win? With ego? May 2023. Full moon eclipse in Scorpio. This is part 4 to the 5-part eclipse story that the contract gets written under. And this one, very clearly showing that Carlton Football Club did not meet its end of the contract so far. So we start getting some warnings. We start getting the warnings, right? The warnings from HR, the universe. 5th of May, 2023, round 8. Now, the energy of that day was a battle, right? It was a battle of the new way versus like the investing way, right? The old way of doing things. And it was bringing up trauma in relationships from the past that had led to like too much talk, too much chat and gossip within relationships and not enough depth, okay? And it was asking us to start being flexible to change. So what do? We lose to Brisbane. All the supporters are furious. They want to look into what's going on. The club's direction is under scrutiny. Team falls out of the top 8. This was a warning that they were not feeling their side of the contract. Now, when it comes to finance and the Scorpio energy at which this contract was made under, Scorpio money is investment money. Scorpio, the whole concept of it is death and rebirth. It's quite literally, we'll burn it to the ground and we'll build something from the ashes, right? So it's very long term. It's also about secrets. It's also about distrust. And Luke Sayers and Brian Cook, just as a side note, are Scorpios. So AKA sneaky and obsessed with money, okay? And they don't trust anyone, all right? Scorpio moon says, all right, full moon, let's show you. You have earned some rewards, you have. So let's show you what the rewards are, okay? But have you put in the work? We see that they're still bragging about how much money they've made, right? Their membership record goes up past the 88,000 mark. They suggest that by the end of the year, they're going to have 95,000, right? 4th highest in the AFL. They talk about their sponsorship with Hyundai for another 5 years, right? All still money related, okay? 12th of May, 2023, Scorpio eclipse. Now, this bad boy, it came with teeth. Right? This is the revealing secrets part of the contract. This is the authenticity energy making a huge opposition and battle with a wounded ego and a resistance to change, right? So what happens? 12th of May, Scorpio eclipse. Mr. Bruce Matheson, you know, the billionaire pokey guy, right? Used to be on the board. He says that the Carlton board are weak and suggests that Michael Voss will be slaughtered as a scapegoat for deeper club failings. Revealing secrets, 12th of May, 2023. He says he'll never help Carlton win again while Luke Sayers and Brian Cook are there. And yeah, makes some pretty huge statements that really show the internal tensions. Because of course, Scorpio eclipse, revealing secrets. We had a last quarter moon in Aquarius that asked what needs to be reconfigured, right? Or what is failing when it comes to being authentic? What can't you see from an outside perspective? So that happened within this eclipse energy. So of course, what can't you see from the outside perspective? Maybe perhaps that Michael Voss will be slaughtered as a scapegoat for deeper club failings. May 19th, new moon in Taurus. We're being asked, what seeds are you planting for hard work? This is an opportunity for everyone to lock into that hard work for the next 6 months. The hard work of the relationships component. June 3, full moon in Sagittarius, really lighting up the last 6-month journey and what you learned, really asking, what did you learn, right? So calling back to that November 2022 with a big focus on finance and let's help Michael Voss, right? So then June 10, last quarter moon in Pisces. Now this one's particularly interesting and it plays a huge part in the energy we've got this year. So this moon on June 10th asked, where is the illness? Where is the trauma that still needs to be removed? Have you allowed your belief system to evolve now that the financial pressure has been taken off you so that you can look at the other components, i.e. the people, the relationships, the collective? 11th of June, 2023, round 13. Now, the energy of this day in particular was asking us to sort of heal internally instead of believing external noise, right? External gossip. It was a very stressful day, specifically pointed at relationships, but the overall period of time that was within those few days was illusion and haze, right? It asked questions of things that had been hidden since 2008, and it needed to be brought to the surface in order to be understood, right? And let go. So, after a 6 straight defeat, a 34-point loss to Essendon, and Mr. Sayers and Brian Cook, again, dismiss speculation of immediate coaching change and back Michael Voss again. June 18th, new moon in Gemini. And what does she say? She wants us to embrace new mindsets. And she says, I want you to recognize the places where you've been entangled in illusion. And I want you to see reality with new eyes. I want you to work on how you communicate, especially how you communicate your intentions. And we were being shown things under this moon that we thought were true that weren't true. And this was really an opportunity to completely break free from whatever fantasy we'd been trapped in. And it gave us the ability to see some lies, okay? It also helped us to pay particular attention to situations where we would have felt tempted to rely on lies, to rely on omissions, and to rely on half-truths in order to, avoid some kind of uncomfortable consequence. June 18th, director Craig Matheson resigns from the Carlton board. Right now, he's the nephew of Bruce, and he was a significant board member. He apparently quit because of some discord with Mr. Sayers. Interesting. Breaking free from lies, are we? Moving away from things that we don't want to be uncomfortable in. July 2023, the resurgence. This is particularly interesting because I do believe that Craig Matheson was part of the poison problem. So that also comes into play here when we start to see the resurgence, right? So July 3rd, full moon in Capricorn, saying to us, what reward have you earned for the work that you've done over the last 6 months? Can you explore a better balance between being soft and being rigid? Between being self-indulgent and being excessively hard on yourself, between prioritizing your emotional needs and your responsibilities, okay, and your commitments. It was really an opportunity to really practice things like active listening, right? To be able to confront your feelings of rejection, alienation, being misunderstood. But it did, however, bring up fears of taking up space and of asserting your own needs and of allowing yourself to be seen kind of spontaneous and natural and raw, okay? So huge energy for the whole of July with that moon, right? So then on July 9th, we get a last quarter moon in Aries, which sort of says, have you worked on your self-motivation and like what still needs work? And are you showing up and do you need work on the difference between confident and ego when you show up, right? So 9th of July, round 17, turnaround. 50-point win over the Gold Coast. Perfect. Now, this kind of shows up that there had been some adjustments, right? Particularly from the coaching staff, Michael Voss, okay? So 15th of July, round 18. Now, the energy of this day, very interesting. It was about an external view of ego and knowing that you are just confident, right? So being able to really understand that confidence can be a strength if you allow it to remain in confidence and not ego, right? And it really offered, on a personal level, Michael Voss an opportunity to show where he had made change, right? Which he did. 9th of July, we saw it, okay? So Blues win Port Adelaide at Marvel. Huge, right? 13-game winning streak. Off we go. Destroyed. Take that, Port Adelaide. July 25th, first quarter moon in Scorpio. This is the contract check-in, isn't it? This is where we get to like give you some rewards, but also like here's a warning, right? Like it's a compliment sandwich where we get the compliments on the outside, but we're just gonna chuck a little lesson in just to remind you that we're still keeping check of whether or not you're holding up your end of the bargain. So we can see that they're reaping the benefits of the contract, and it also shows that someone, at least probably Voss, has been attending to the other side of the contract, right? The relationship side of the contract, the people, the collective. So 23rd of July, Carlton wins. West Coast again though, right? So we get Harry gets injured, even though we win. So we get both, right? We get like, oh, that's right, people get injured if we don't look after them, but we still get the reward, okay? 28th of July, Carlton defeats Collingwood by 17 points, right? Huge crowd, of course, sell out, right? Charlie gets 6 goals. We get into the top 8. Fantastic. Little reward. August 1st. Full moon in Aquarius. This is particularly important because Charlie getting 6 goals is also related to this moon, right? So it was 3 days later. Charlie is an Aquarius. This is an Aquarius moon, right? So huge for him. Big supportive energy. But collectively, it's a time of personal and collective awakening, right? This full moon in Aquarius. It leads to a whole other bunch of energies coming years down the track. And so it wants us to really explore where you can be of service to the community in a way that generates joy, right? And I feel like that's a really nice description of Charlie's energy when he's in it, is he is of service to the community. He does generate joy and fulfillment, right? But it has to be in a way that honors your creative impulses. It has to be in an authentic way. August 8th, we had a last quarter moon in Taurus, which kind of says like, what work still needs to be done? Where is stability still needing work? And then it kind of goes, because Taurus is opposite to Scorpio. So it sort of says, we've looked at the money, the external part, we've looked at it. Where's the other work that needs to be done? We get a new moon in Leo on the 16th, brings in some new confidence, brings in some potentially too high of an ego, right? Then we get August 30, full moon in Pisces. Huge emotional moon, right? So we get 5th spot. Haven't done anything like that since 2013. Ends a decade-long finals drought. Hurrah. We get more rewards. So interestingly, the last time in 2013 when we were in the finals was the time before the one we're currently mentioning, that we also had the Scorpio Taurus eclipse. So it's the same energy. 10 years later. Okay. Anyway, so we get the rewards. We get some of the rewards, which is a Charlie killing it, getting the Coleman. We get this opportunity, right? Because of this full moon Aquarius and this new moon in Leo, it's this opportunity for the Carlton Football Club to really cultivate positive energy throughout the team. Like, they're already in positive energy. Like, it's a gift. This is a gift. This is like a fork in the road where like you're being shown that this is the time, right? This is the time to invest. This is the time to uplift. This is the time to help cultivate the positive energy within the team space. Okay. September 2023, the finals campaign. Now, this whole month was about refinement, was about reflection, was about realignment. And it was asking us to understand that we have to go back before we move forward, right? We need to address unfinished business to gain a better understanding of the true motivations of your choices. So it really was a period of time where we had to reevaluate relationships with money and wealth and really review what is truly valuable. September 6th, last quarter moon in Gemini. Now this one calls back to what still needs to be fixed and looked at from the Gemini moon on June 18th. So that was where Voss was publicly backed by Luke Sayers. And it says, this moon says, what still needs to be changed? And where do we still need to pivot from what we started? Where do we still need to look at the shadow side, the dark side, not just the light, right? Where do we still need to look at the lessons, not just the rewards? 8th of September 2023, elimination final. Carlton wins an AFL final for the first time in 10 years, beating Sydney by 6 points. Hurrah. Harry Mackay is concussed. Ruled out of the semi-final under concussion protocol. Again, Win. Lesson. Right there. September 14th, new moon in Virgo. This is about planting seeds of new habits, okay? New ways, new plans. So we get things like, Sam Walsh gets best on ground, we win against Melbourne, but we still get asked this huge question, right? About how we react to other people's suffering, and are we tempted to dwell in feelings of victimization and hopelessness. The 15th of September, which was the semi-final, the energy of that day, it really gave us an opportunity to act and make changes according to the shift in our perception that we were supposed to have had over the last few months, okay? So Carlton wins by 2 points. Coming from behind in the final minutes where Mr. Blake Acres kicks the final winning goal within the last 60 seconds of who we acquired during the contract period. Yet again, pointing out we need to put investment into people, okay? We also see more examples of that with Sam Walsh absolutely killing it, getting best on ground, young superstar. And Carlton get to go to a preliminary final, right? 23rd of September, preliminary final. The energy of this day says, how can you use confidence on your journey? It says, where are you giving too much energy to external validation? And are you looking for external validation to show you that you're doing the right thing? Where do you criticize others instead of looking at your own journey? And it wants to show how being confident and putting work into your own identity will help the collective identity. All right. So Brisbane wins. Carlton's early momentum kind of fails and Brisbane wins. And interestingly, the energy during that momentum fade was asking, are you disciplined enough in your own idea of who you are to be able to pivot and adapt under stress? Or are you spending too much energy worrying about the wounds of the past? Which I think Brisbane winning answers that question. All in all, best finish we've had in 23 years, okay? As in, you got your side of the contract. September 29, full moon in Aries. This day had an energy that was asking you to stop putting in too much energy and stop being too concerned about being misunderstood, about whether or not you're being seen as confident or egotistical. It asked you to sort of balance your relationships with others and yourself, and it offered a reward for something that started within that growth period of the masculine energy, right? So we see a lot of kind of reward energy come through under this. 30th of September, now that 30th of September was this massive energy around your identity and about how you can understand your identity through how close relationships mirror it back to you. Right? We get all of these examples of rewards that have come from people. Okay? October 14th, new moon eclipse in Libra. Now, this one called for some heavy adjusting of relationships. This is the second part of this new story that we've started, and this was an excellent time to put work into relationships and people. October 28th, full moon eclipse in Taurus. Now, this is the final one. This closes the Scorpio-Taurus axis and the contract period. Surface level rewards that showed up, right? What did Carlton ask for out of the energetic contract? Another chance for Voss, more members, significant profit and growth, which they got. Okay, so the coaching staff stability gets maintained. Michael Voss already contracted until the end of 2024, right? Has that final success, gets that boost, enjoys the full board support, lifeboat. Okay, he also got a reward out of the contract. The club brings in players like Elijah Hollins via a trade. Now, Elijah is a specifically important energy to be thinking about because he enters the team openly with a struggle around his mental and emotional health. Okay, mental and emotional health, huge component of 2025, which I'll get to. So him coming into the team, huge. Okay, this was when the universe said, so see how you got the win there? See how you got your end of the contract? Did you learn what you were supposed to learn in the fine print? And then we're on the other side. November 13th, new moon in Scorpio. What do you want to plant now to ensure that you use the lessons we gave you during that contract? So then we get to see this kind of investment reward for what you wanted out of the contract, right? So Carlton come out with the annual report. Huge financial position, net operating profit of 1.52 million, revenue from memberships, crowds hitting a record high. Thanks to what? The players, the fans, the people. Did you invest in that? They come out, they're bragging about their final membership tally, 95,277, club record. Still going on about Icon Park redevelopment, looking into its programs, where they're spending money, where they're getting money come back to them, right? Brian Cook praises this shared sense of purpose at Carlton, notes that the club's united approach translated into both improved on-field performance and financial stability. So noting the improved on-field performance of the players, of the people, but noting it because it helped get financial stability. Did you learn the lesson, Carlton? I don't think you did. 2024, energetically, 2024 from January until September gave us this massive shift in energy that we haven't had as a collective, as people on this earth, for 250 years. And one of the things that it did was it shifted from the old ways to the new ways. The old ways of power being follow the rules, do what you're told, old boys club, to the new way, which is authenticity, which is evolution, right? Evolve, right? You've got 20 years, let's go. So April 8th, we had the new moon solar eclipse in Aries, right? This is part 4 to that other story that started. Where are you planting seeds of authenticity? Then April 23rd, we had the full moon Scorpio. Now this baby, she was lighting up where things needed to be worked on based on your contract, right? Where you're bragging about your money, but where you still had injuries, which was suggesting, my friends, that you hadn't been investing in the players that you got your money from because they'd worked really hard, because the energy of the universe was supporting them to work really hard to make you money, to give you what you wanted in the contract, right? So interestingly, we get Jackson Binns drafted, right? He's a Scorpio, and the rest of his energy, an example of the new way, okay? Then we get April 20th. And we get Sard, Chera, McGovern injured. So are we still bragging about how much money we've made? So Pluto retrograded back into Capricorn from September until November. So this was kind of this last opportunity that we were given as a collective to understand the lessons from the last 20 years before they start to force the lessons on you. September 18th, full moon eclipse, super full moon, right? Now this was a new story, and this was the physical manifestation of the emotional and spiritual things you keep in the shadows, in the dark, okay? So this is that story, 18 months. That's where we still currently are. So on October 2, 2024, we had a new moon eclipse in Libra, which was closing out the people lessons, right? Have you balanced out your I am energy with your you are energy? Are your relationships allowing you to show up as your true self? Have you stopped people pleasing? October 6th, Crips, John Nichols medal. Second Brownlow. But Matt Kennedy leaves. September, Matt Kennedy leaves. October, Crips gets another award. And I think this was a perfect example of showing where we've invested in things, right? Or more likely, where we haven't invested in future relationships, but we're just holding on to the ones that we know make us money. Enter 2025, where we sit. January 21st was a massive energy, right? The Sun and Pluto were conjunct in Aquarius for the first time in 250 years, for the first of 18 times that it will be conjunct there from now until 2043. These are once in a lifetime energies. So this one is so powerful when it comes to transformation with matters of the individual and the community. It encourages us to do some deep self-work into our own awareness and to step into the power of being me, and how that can benefit the collective, right? Or how authenticity benefits the collective. Here's where we see what happens when the warnings have to start intensifying. The first warning about not evolving for the Carlton Football Club came on January 22nd, okay? When Mr. Luke Sayers, Scorpio, ruled by Pluto, Okay. Had to resign. Right? Had to resign because of a little photo, because of a little scandal, right? And he lied about it. Just saying. That's my opinion. January 29th, we get a new moon in Aquarius. This one is a huge opportunity to plant new seeds in like evolving your mindset. That's the end of Jan. Start of Feb, Robert Priestley appointed as the president of the Carlton Football Club, big finance guy, indicating no evolution has taken place internally. He was the chairman of JP Morgan. 40 years of experience is in what? The financial services. Oh, Carlton. Dear Carlton. You should have known. So February 25, where we've seen Mr. Robert Priestley come on board, right? We get a Leo full moon, but it's making a square to Uranus. So this will intensify energy for authenticity and freedom, okay? We had 7 planets aligning, which never happens, and we had Jupiter go direct in Gemini and demand we take action and make changes that reflect our beliefs and ideals and our way of thinking since October. Since October. That's why we got the Luke Sayers warning, because this let's go forward, I demand change. Here's a freaking warning. February 18th, Vossi comes out, outlines his team focus for 2025, emphasizing the need for consistency and improved performance. Also indicating no evolution from the past goals that have been set. March 2025. This was a huge month. Okay, so the 13th of March was the Virgo eclipse. And this is part 2 to the story that started in September of 2024. This is the story of the spiritual and emotional darkness being made real, coming out of the shadows, secrets coming out, things being turned into reality, right? This is where we are needing to be realigned with being of service to people, right? Where we need to look at the details from a bigger picture, okay? We need to zoom out and see the effect and see what service we can be. So warning number 2, my friends, warning number 2 after Luke Sayers was, of course, the day of that eclipse when Richmond somehow won. And like a lot of Carlton's games this year in 2025, that game was not about who deserved to win. That game was about who deserved to lose. And I want you to think about that with all of the massive losses that Carlton have had. That the games that they were in was not about who deserved to win. It was about who deserved to lose. So we lose to Richmond. And then, in reaction to that, Carlton cancelled their member day. So not only are we seeing this lesson because we haven't given back to the relationship and collective component, but we also then go and hide from the collective, from the people, from what we're supposed to be leaning into, right? March 20, we lose to Hawthorn. Harry Mackay out. Mental health. End of this month, end of March, we entered mental health territory. This was a warning for that as well. March 28th, we lose to the Bulldogs, right? So the whole of March, your spiritual and emotional darkness is being made real. Your spiritual and emotional darkness, the shadows, the things that you hide, the secrets, the things that you're not doing behind the scenes are now being made real for people to see, as is the energy of the universe. 29th of March, we get the final eclipse in the people story, right? And this closes that out. And it really asks, have you balanced your relationships? And it really sets up a starting point for the next story to unfold based on how balanced your relationships were. Now, the 30th of March, huge for the Carlton Football Club and the collective of the world, to be honest. Neptune enters Aries. Now, this is a new 160-year story. So this is old Carlton wounds needing to be released. This is like being in the ghosts of those wounds and needing to let them go. Now, this is especially significant to Carlton because this is their Neptune return, and people don't get these because we don't live to over 160 years old. So this is truly offering Carlton Football Club an opportunity to shift from that old consciousness to a new one. Right? Mental health becomes a significant factor with Neptune in Aries because Neptune is about health and disease, and Aries is about the head, right? So we have this moving from Pisces as well, moving Neptune in Pisces, which is a feminine energy, into Neptune in Aries, which is a masculine energy, which quite literally puts an emphasis on men's mental health and anyone who has a reach within communities of men. Okay? Because we are giving back. We are being of service to collectives. Oh, the warnings, Carlton, dear Carlton, you should have known. April 2025. Huge upheaval in the relationship dynamics in and out of the club, with the fans, with the players, everyone. We're starting to see the effect of the results of not meeting your end of the contract. Okay. So April 4th, we get like some massive energy really showing up, mental health wounds in the collective, really showing up where the collective that has this reach over the masculine energy needs to be aware of its privileged position and know how to be of service, okay? Now, April 4th was the Carlton Collingwood game at the MCG where people allegedly brought in firearms. Mental health, okay? Where you are involved, Carlton. April 12th, full moon in Libra. Now, this is the first one after that relationship window closed, right? The 18-month relationship balancing window closed. This is the first moon after that. So it really wants to look at your relationship dynamics, right? It really wants to look them up. The sun came in. It really lit up all of the past wounds in relationships that we needed to have healed, right? So Carlton finally win against who? West Coast, right? So the away game curse, it's whatever. Don't worry about it. We're fine. We're good. Except Harry comes back from his mental health break and gets a concussion. So he's out again, right? We start seeing rumours about TDK. We get rumours about Cripps being sick. We have Kerno's out with his ankle. All of these people who you should have invested in back at the crossroads. April 27th, new moon in Taurus. We're planting new seeds of hard work and stability. We're asking about internal lessons. We're really wondering now, says the universe. We're really wondering, what did you learn from May 2022 until November 2023? What did you learn? So Carlton get the win over Geelong, and we kind of asked, how do you react? Confidence or ego? May 12th, 2025. The Scorpio full moon. My friends, this is the final review of the contract between May 2022 and November 2023. The final review. Okay, so did you hold up your side of the contract? Did you? So let's see if you did. May 9th, Carlton win. 11-11, I might say, against St Kilda. Harry finally gets the victory, gets the goal in the last 90 seconds. However, my friends, injuries. So many injuries. Mitch McGovern, Blake Acres, Nick Hayne, Lockie Cowan. And even though Harry kicked the winning goal, injured. Again. So here we see, oh, you want the victory? You're still not looking at this, right? The review, May 12th. Lose to Sydney, right? Everyone's talking about, consistency. Again, we're still talking about the same things. May 15th, this is particularly interesting. May 15th, Carlton mourns the loss of club legend, Robert Walls. He was a triple premiership player for Carlton and he coached the VFL team to the premiership in 1987. Why is that? Why do you even care? Well, as a little side note for those of you who do care, in 1987, when he coached that VFL team to its premiership, we were experiencing a solar eclipse in Virgo. The next solar eclipse in Virgo that we're going to have, we're in that period right now, is going to be in September 21. So, VFL team, maybe you're going to do well this year, okay? Anyway, moving on to a huge point in time, May 24th. Saturn moves to Aries. This is another one of those huge shifts, okay? This is it's a 2 and a bit year shift, but all in all it's a 30-year shift. Extremely relevant to Carlton, all right? So this is the reality of what you need to start building energy. This is the which way are you going to go now? Will you take responsibility and have discipline for moving forward in this new world? Are you taking responsibility for where your world currently is? And this was a day that offered the third warning before the chaos comes for you. Okay, Carlton lose to GWS. Not only do they lose, but they play like they don't care, right? Huge pressure on Michael Voss now because inconsistent performances, right? We're talking about changing leaderships. Everyone wants him gone. It's a huge thing, right? May 26th, new moon in Gemini. This wants to plant some seeds for the Uranus transit into Gemini, aka the 8-year chaos that brings the evolution. May 27th, incoming CEO, Graham Wright, a Gemini, right? Announces plans for sweeping changes. Sweeping changes just like Uranus and Gemini is here to do, right? He wants a significant overhaul in the football department. We get some other things happen. We get June 2nd, which asks, have you started the work yet? Since you lost to Richmond, how are your relationship dynamics going? Have you zoomed out? Have you learned from things? Have you learned from how other people are mirroring your energy back to you, Carlton? We just beat Essendon, we just beat the Eagles, and we just beat North, but guess what? The fans don't care. The fans don't care. They don't care, they don't believe you, they think it's a fluke. The vibes are still low on the field, and even though we win, they act like they don't care, and the fans are feeling it, and they don't trust anyone, and they don't feel heard. So no, you have not learned from the energy that is being mirrored back to you by the collective. June 23rd. Now, the energy of this day was asking us to be curious about why you can't be authentic. It asks you to be present in the today and see how the collective is acting around you today, presently. And what? Vossi gets put under massive scrutiny. Team struggles to find form. Play against Port. Don't care. Fan reaction hated it. Icon Park gets graffitied. Nobody cares. They get absolutely flogged. As is the lesson, my friend. Now, June 25th in particular, we had a new moon in Cancer, which was a massive energy, right? This was probably a 5-day energy, but it was an opportunity to be planting seeds of safety and security within the playing group. It was an opportunity for that. It was a huge opportunity for Michael Voss to expand his ability to shift a belief system that he's had for 15 years. It was like an emotional flood kind of energy that was really bringing up issues from like anywhere from 15 to 160 years, right, within your spiritual energy. And it was designed to clear out any of that debris, right? So, I mean, emotions were definitely purged because the reaction and the fans was, I mean, on point, to be honest, because those players literally didn't care. And people were talking about how it was a protest against a non-changing internal system at Carlton. So how many signs do you want, dear Carlton? You should have known, okay? July 4th, Collingwood Carlton. There's not really anything to say, to be honest. The energy of that day did call back to the June 16th, 2022 loss to Richmond, where we shared some similar energy and couldn't get it over the line. To be fair, and I would do it in this video, but it's already too long, the story of the Collingwood team within this same energy, if you just have a quick little zoom out, you can see how they are meeting their end of the contract. And it is the reason that they're on the top of the ladder. July 7th, which is today when I'm filming this, Uranus moves to Gemini and the chaos begins. Just a quick little recap. Why the chaos begins. Why it has to begin. Carlton Football Club are having a Neptune return, okay? They have just ended their 160-ish year energy cycle, right? An energy cycle that calls in ancestral and generational patterns and asks them to be dissolved and to renew their internal belief system. They're also ending an 84-year cycle with a Uranus return, and that's calling for evolution and alignment with the new way. Now, the contract ending full moon in Scorpio that we had in May was at 22 degrees. That directly crossed Carlton's Jupiter in Scorpio, which is also at 22 degrees. So the translation of that is that was having a huge effect on the growth, abundance, and luck of the Carlton Football Club until they uphold the other side of the contract. Which, the other side of that contract was telling them to focus on relationships, on people, on community, and to build a social reputation of helping men with mental health. This is why the Carlton Football Club exists. That is its identity, to give back to the community. Specifically, men. So don't come for me, women. That's not written in their birth chart, okay? Specifically, men. Specifically, how their mindset works. That is the Carlton Football Club. That is why it attracts so many people towards it, because the whole purpose of it is to be a journey and a gift giver to the community, to help mentally balance and evolve the community that loves it. That is its identity. The Carlton Football Club has a wound of faith. It is constantly entering into victim mentality and distraction techniques, which will never work, my friends. Will never work. That wound, the purpose of it existing in your birth energy is to heal it. So your victim mentality and your distraction techniques, they'll never work long term, all right? That wound affects the Carlton Football Club's ability to see things from another perspective, to transform things, and to accept authenticity over their self-perceived reputation standards. They have to heal that wound in order to move forward, right? All of this is written in the natal chart of the Carlton Football Club. So, dear Carlton, you should have known. And so now that Uranus is in Gemini and that transit is going to be crossing Carlton's Mercury, Uranus, and its 12th house, you can expect the communications of secrets long kept from the world to come out, probably through the gathering of passionate, like-minded individuals, the fans. The only way its belief system is going to change is it has to be open to communication within relationships, and it has to heal its past when it comes to how it has been guilty of manipulating communication. Right? So in other words, you need to speak the truth and you need to speak it to the collective. So the energy of the Carlton Football Club, the power in it is focused on prioritizing stability, security, and the preservation of resources. Okay? But in this new world, it needs to do that through community and relationships. And now that Pluto, the planet of power, will be crossing Carlton's point of transformation, it will be forced to evolve. Pluto will take away distractions until it does evolve. And where in the Carlton energy are those pleasurable distractions? Scorpio energy. Long-term investment, abundance, and security. So, dear Carlton, you should have known. I certainly did. Astrological mapping tells no lies. And as a company intertwined in the past with JP Morgan, it's funny to me that you don't hold on to a long-used quote of his, which is, millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do. Forward we go into the chaos, Bluebaggers. Go Blues.